Hi everyone, Dakota again from BecomingAProgrammer.com. We're continuing our series on building a Hacker News clone in AngularJS. And in the last video, we added our story comment component and put it into our post state, so we're getting a little bit of getting a comment displayed there. But we had this big number by the author's name. This is actually the time ago, how long ago the comment was posted. You may recall earlier we wrote a function getHoursAgo within the story directives controller here, and the problem with putting it there is that now that we want to use it within the story comment component, we can't get at it because it's defined in the story directive controller scope. So the way we're going to handle this is we're going to refactor it into a filter. That's the place that Angular recommends doing such things. My first instinct was to put it in here, the top story service, because both the controller and both the directive and the component are depending on it. But when you look up the Angular style guide, they have a conceptual overview of what a service is supposed to be used for, and you could say the first thing it says here is view independent business logic. And because this is purely presentational and it's very dependent on the view, we don't want to put this into a service. We want to have a filter, which is exactly what the place that Angular has specified for formatting functions. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a folder to hold our filters we're going to build. We'll put it in JS app filters, and then within that folder we're going to add a file called getHoursAgo.js, and while we're at it, add the other filter we're going to do is getDomainFromUrl.js. Okay, and before we do anything else, because we made this mistake before, or I made it, you didn't, you're not responsible. We're going to add the script tags right now to make sure that our app knows about these filters we just added. JS app filters get domain from URL.js. Okay. So we got those added in, and again I found there was no snippet available for Angular filters, so I ended up making my own. And if you'd like to add it to the project, again you would go preferences, user snippets, and then you are going to need to get the type in JS and hit return, and then you're going to add it to this file. This is it right here, the filter. I have a red, I don't know why I've got a curly there. It's a little bit disturbing. I have another curly. I wonder if that one was redundant. Yeah, okay. And in the blog post I have this command that you can paste in to your terminal, and it's basically going to copy this snippet from my GitHub account into your clipboard, and then when you open up this file like I just showed you, you can come in here and just paste. Make sure you have a comma, and then I also deleted the last closing. Yeah, and make sure you just have this in there and then save it. And now when you try to use this filter, you'll be able to do it. So let's try our first one. getHoursAgo, and I'm going to hit Command R to refresh it. You couldn't really see what happened, but that's just to make sure we can use the snippet. So we're going to start building this filter, and let's use our snippet. Okay, so this one's going to be called getHoursAgo. And then I'm going to put a condition in here. We need to check to make sure that the filter is given a number. And I found a nice article about how to do that here. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but this is the function. This article's a good read, but this is what you end up using. So basically, we want to know if it's numeric, so we're going to do this not is not a number, and then a parse float of n, which is in this case input, and then we're doing the and operator and is finite on the input. So if not is not a number, parse int, I think it's parse int, no, parse float of input, and then the and operator, and we're going to do is finite input. Let me make sure I got that. Okay, that looks right. So if basically if it's numeric, then we're going to do what we want with it, and that's going to be to get the second difference. And just in case you wanted to look at what this is coming from, we did this before, so I'll put it over here. Okay, so we got our filter, and then we got our second difference is equal to date now, which is in milliseconds, and we're converting it to seconds by dividing by 1,000, and then subtracting, in this case, input, because that's what our filter is taking in. And then if the second difference is less than 3600, we want to define a variable minutes ago and set that equal to the second difference divided by 60 to get the number of minutes. And then we're going to return the rounded down minutes ago plus minutes ago, string on the end, and then else we're going to do hours ago and set that equal to the second difference divided by 3600 to get it back into to see how many hours there are. We're going from seconds to hours, and then after that we're going to return the rounded down hours ago and add the string hours ago to it. Okay, and that should allow us to take the numeric input and filter it. So what we want to do here now, and then actually there's one more thing we can fill in. Give it a number as an input. It's a little error message, just in case we're not giving it a number in the filter. Okay, so now if we want to use this, we can just we can go into one of our views here. Let's see, we have our story comment, and then the comment time, that was the one that we were getting here. Make sure the server's still running. Okay, comment time, and then a pipe get hours ago, and save this, and then return. And I got this error again, but you can see that it actually did work. And I've still been trying to figure that out. I'm not sure quite why, how that could be happening, that it's both working and throwing this error. That is quite a mystery to me. So if anybody gets why that's happening, please let me know. But yeah, it's really, and it's the thing is, it's also happening 3 times, which is curious because yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyway, especially because there's only one component on the page, so that for sure should only be happening once, because I only put it in the template for the component right here. But we're actually going to be doing it in the controller anyway, so we can get that out of there. I'll show you how we can put this in the controller. We're going to want to go to the story comment file here where we define our component, and we're doing it in the components controller. So that's the story comment component here. And then we have this comment time. And in order to use the filter within this context, we need to inject it by tapping in getHoursAgo and then adding filter at the end. And then we need to inject it also in the actual function definition here. And then here we can call the getHoursAgo filter on resdata.time. And now when we save this and make sure that the story comment, we don't need all of these guys open right now. Make sure that the this comment time is also saved, so we have the filters not being used here. When we reload, we see that this is working and we're not throwing that error. So again, I'm quite confused on why that error was being thrown and it was still working. But again, if anyone has an idea of why, please reply in the comments. Okay, now after we've done that, it's looking good, and we can also use this filter now from within the story directive. So instead of using this function we defined here, we can actually first we need to inject it. So here's our array of dependencies, and we do the getHoursAgo filter, and then getHoursAgo filter, and then I think there's a third place, yeah, right in here we have to put it. Filter. Okay, and now when we put in the time here, we just change this to getHoursAgo filter and save it. And there's also a couple of this directive on the page, so we should see the same thing there. And now when we comment out this code, which was that function, we can reload this and see that it's all still working. So we go back to just our main localhost, and again we're getting the hours ago like we would expect, and we don't need this this function defined in the directive anymore. So we can save that, reload just to make sure all still working. I can go back to post one. Okay, and now that we got that filter going correctly, I want to add the changes that we've made here, and then we can commit them to version control. So we added our components, and then we added we updated the directive, and we also updated index.html to link to those new files we created. And finally, let's add the getHoursAgo filter. Check git status. Okay, so we got these 4 files that we have updated, and let's commit them saying adds getHoursAgo filter to project, uses in directive and component. Okay. Alright, in the next video we'll be adding the getDomainFromUrl filter. Pretty similar. See you then.